Good morning, Rabbi Sai. How's everybody doing? Lili Nishma, Simi Mirosi, Ruspas Mordechai, sponsored by Kalman from the Five Towns, Lili Nishmas, Malko Bas Rabbi Yisrael, Alea Sholem, Yud Teves, Tavshin Samach Aleph, Tante Mali, Malko Bas Yisrael, also sponsored. This is amazing. One guy from the Shir doing chesed with another person in the Shir. Simcha Leib Steinberg is sponsoring for a special happy birthday. Happy birthday wishes to Zevi Schuper. Mazel tov, Zevi. Look at this. Yesterday, anything with a picture goes to the front here. Unbelievable. Dear Belly, this is from Yossi from England. I casually mentioned to my Eishes Chayil that I had completed 1 year since starting Daf Yomi. Tremendous accomplishment, Rabbi say 350 plus Daf. She bought me a beautiful globe decanter set representing your global shir. I don't know if she had that in mind or he had that, whatever. May you continue to keep spreading Torah around the world. I will drink a l'chaim this Shabbos and have you and the whole Daf Mishpach in mind. Yossi from the Jewish Weekly. Beautiful stuff. Look at this. It's a globe. It spins the whole... The glasses are globes, everything. Beautiful. We have here a Eishes Chayil pushing the husband to learn Torah. Kalman from the Five Towns says, dedicated for 20th year, my dear Tante Mali. See attached picture, and Neshama should have an aliyah. She was the only living blood relative, my mother's sister, that survived the Nazis besides my mother's father. I just want to show you a very interesting picture here. Gary, take a look at this. So there's two problems here with the picture. My biggest problem is that I've never seen a candle holder larger than the actual grave. It's unbelievable. And the second thing is that it says Mali, M-O-L-L-I-E, and over here it says Mali, M-O-L-L-Y. So I think we got to get rid of this thing. Start over. All right, the Neshama should have an aliyah. Woody Wyman says, Rabbi Yehuda Wyman, hi, Rebelli. Big fan of your shir. I don't listen live, but I listen to the shir on the app. On the app, you hear Leon? People are using the app. Besides for Shabbosim, I don't believe I've missed a shir since I switched to your shir during Chol Hamoed Sukkos. On my recent trip to Vegas, the first thing that I did when I started packing was to make a copy of the 2 daf that I needed while I was away. Geschmack. Reminds me, I was years ago. This is when I was giving shir in Chicago, so I don't know how many, 15, 17 years ago. I was in Florida, in Orlando, with my kids, and I had an art scroll in the hotel. So I just cut out the daf of the day and stood in line. You can do, those lines are crazy. What are you going to do for an hour? Just sit and look at the moon? You do the daf. Here's a guy going to Vegas, guy going to Disney World. The daf. It's always the daf. I told you, that's what I said, and the guy got very insulted. I said, you hardly ever see somebody going to Disney World or Vegas bringing his Lamdish Svarim with him. It's always the Daf Yomi. He got very mad. He said, well, you're knocking briskers? Like, first of all, no, they don't go to Disney World. It's good for them. They don't go to Vegas. But most of the time, the guys that are bringing Svarim with them, it's Daf Yomi. I don't know. Did you do research? He says, did you do research? Like, how do you know this? Like, chutzpah that you say such a thing. I'm not learning from your shir. 12 months ago, no one would have believed that the first thing I would think about for a trip was printing out something learning related. It's unbelievable. So many people wrote this. Unbelievable. Furthermore, the first 6 years of my marriage, I almost never picked up a sefer. I've been going strong since brachas and can honestly say that it's changed my family's and my own life. P.S. I was recruited by one of your followers, and I recruited Morty Matskowitz from the Bob Matskowitz story. Yehuda Wyman. Not exactly sure what that means. All right, Rabbi Isai, amazing daf today, daf Lamed Gimel. We are holding, unfortunately, 13 lines from the bottom of Amud Beis. And we are going into a 24-line question, which only has 8 steps. I don't know what it is with Mesechtes Pesachim and the 7-step and the 9-step pieces. This one is a lot simpler than that whole cartoon with the... Reuven owes Shimon money, and Shimon owes Reuven money, and they died, and he this and that. Okay, now we're holding a very, very simple step question. But think about the genius, while we're learning this, think about how do you come up with such a question, an 8-step question. That what? Yesterday we learned machlokes. How much does one have to eat from truma before he's chayev the keren and the chaimish, the principal, and the fifth, 25%? So Tanakama says you have to eat a kazayis, it's an achila, a kazayis. Abba Shaul says it has to be a pruta's worth, not the volume, but the value. A pruta, why? Because it says nesina. Rav Papa came along and said a chiddush, that he was kind of forced to say it, that Abba Shaul actually holds both of those things together. You need a pruta, yeah, he holds you need a pruta's worth, but you also need that the pruta should be a kazayis worth. So the Gemara wants to prove that Rav Papa retracted that. Rav Papa doesn't hold that Abba Shaul needs both. So in step 8, all the way in 8, Rav Papa asked the question, who says maybe Rebbe holds like Abba Shaul, and you only need one out of the two. You only need pruta. That's the Gemara's question. You see that Rav Papa took it back. Rav Papa says that Abba Shaul holds you need both, a kazais and a pruta. Over here in Rav Papa's question, Rav Papa says maybe Abba Shaul holds all you need is a pruta. That's the end of the question. How do you get to that question? It's 8 steps, 8 simple steps. Go through about peh, then we'll learn inside Gishmak. There's a pasuk by Me'ilah that says by Hegdish. Hegdish, if you moil Hegdish, it's only b'shoigig, right? Like Truma, we said yesterday. Truma, Me'ilah also. Something that's owned by the Beis Hamikdash, you go and you use it, by mistake, then you're chayiv. Chayiv a karban. Otherwise, you're not chayiv. Ask the Gemara, why do you need a pasuk? Can't I learn that out from a kavachaymer, from everything in the Torah? Dam, chaylev. Why? Look, dam and chaylev are very, very severe. If you eat dam on purpose, blood, chaylev, the fat of an animal that's not kosher, you get karas. Very severe. What if you do it by accident? You don't bring, if you do it by accident, there's no carbon. Me'ilah that has misa, if you do it on purpose. If you do it on purpose, b'mezid, there's no carbon. There's karas. Me'ilah that has misa that's much lighter than karas, certainly you don't have to bring a carbon if it's mezid. Only b'shoigig. So why do I need a pasuk? But the Gemara understands in this question that karas is stronger than misa. Says the Gemara in answer that dam, chaylev, all the mitzvahs in the Torah, they don't have misa. A second ago he said they have karas, it's much worse than misa. Answer the Gemara, it has misa. Mila has misa, everything else doesn't have misa. What's the Gemara's answer? So that's the Gemara's question. You just told me karas is very severe in the Kavachaymer, and then you answer me, no, misa is very severe. Which one is it? So the Gemara says, I'll tell you pshat in the pasuk, in the Gemara. Me'ilah just means, it doesn't mean that misa is severe. Now we have to understand, misa, everybody agrees that karas is more severe than misa. Karas is very bad. Karas comes earlier in a person's life, and it also affects his children. So everybody agrees that karas is more severe than misa b'dei shamayim. They're very similar, but they're different. So what the Gemara meant to say that Me'ilah has a chumrah that dam and chaylev doesn't have. And that is that if you eat less than a kazayis of, you do less of a kazayis, you use less than a kazayis, eat less than a kazayis of hegdish, you're chayiv. Dam, you need a full kazayis. So it's more severe. Me'ilah, you can't learn a kavachaymer from everything else. Says the Gemara, wait a minute. Who says that you get misa if you eat dam and chaylev? Rebbe. And where does he learn it from? Truma. So let's learn everything from truma. How much truma must one eat in order to be over? A kazayis. So therefore, Mila also needs a kazayis. Why are you telling me that Mila you could get away, you chayiv even less than a kazayis? Mila you learn from truma because it's Rebbe, so you need a full kazayis. Ask Rav Papa, finally, ask Rav Papa. Who told you that Rebbe holds that Mila is less than a kazayis? That truma, you need a kazayis. Maybe it's Abba Shaul who holds that you don't need a kazayis. All you need is a pruta. But Rav Papa just told us yesterday, that you need both. You need a pruta and a kazayis. So you see that Rav Papa retracted. You hear the kasha? 8-step kasha. Inside. Everything you just said, inside. Zok the Gemara. We are holding 13 lines from the bottom. Ba'af Rav Papa hadar bei. Disanyo, b'chata b'shgaga. When you use hegdish, me'ilah behegdish, b'shoigig, not intentionally. Prat lemezid. You don't bring a carbon if you do it b'mezid. V'alo dinu. This is a kavachomer. Umar shar mitzvahs, all the isurim in the Torah. For instance, dam and chaylev. Shechiv bem kares. The Torah gave that person kares. Yet, if somebody eats a cup of blood, drinks a cup of blood, a revius dam, on purpose, he doesn't bring a carbon. Me'ila shein bekares. Me'ila, which is much lighter. All it has is misa b'dei shamayim. Misa b'dei shamayim is a lot less than kares. So certainly, if he does it b'dafka on purpose, and it didn't, shepater samezid, he shouldn't have to bring a carbon. And this is the key sentence of the sugya, because we're going to have a number of tirutzim besides the one that Rav Papa says, or the Gemara says. Loi im amarto. Loi. Im amarto b'shar mitzvahs, shekein lo yichiyah be'em misa. What are you talking about? The other mitzvahs, dam and chaylev, is less than kares. You're telling me dam and chaylev is kares. Well, the opposite. Me'ila has misa b'dei shamayim. Dam and chaylev don't have misa b'dei shamayim. So what's the obvious question? Doesn't make any sense. A second ago we said kares is more chamer. Now we're saying misa b'dei shamayim is more. Which one is it? So memela, since I cannot learn a kavachomer me'ila from other mitzvahs, why? Because me'ila is more chamer as misa b'dei shamayim. So therefore, the Torah has to tell us a pasuk that you only bring a carbon b'shgaga, not if you do b'mezid. Adkan good. So asks Rav Nachman to Rav Chia bar Oven, wait a minute. In step number 1, or which step is it here? Step number 2 in the Kavachomer, we said that mitzvahs have kares. Dam and chaylev have kares. Where me'ila is lighter than that, it doesn't have kares. You're telling me that kares is more chamer. Ulabasayif alim alei misa. In step 3, you're telling me, dam and chaylev don't have misa v'dei shamayim. They only have kares. Kares is less. What is going on here? So we have 3 tirusim in the Gemara. Only one until we get to our main kasha of Rav Papa. V'amalei. So Rav Chia bar Avia answers Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Hachiga amar loy. Avada misa is less than kares. Kares is the worst of the worst. What I'm trying to tell you, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Rav Chia bar Avia, is that me'ila has something special, and if it has this special thing, you can't learn a kavachomer from it. That what? Me'ila, you're over on less than a kazayis. But dam and chaylev, you need a full kazayis. So don't prove anything from dam and chaylev to me'ila. You get misa, me'ila, less than a kazayis. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak was very excited. He loved the answer. Tanuach daitcha, you should have menuchas hanefesh, shenachtas daiti. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should pay you back for such a beautiful answer. He says, I got you. I was messing around with you. I told you an answer. I want to see if you would buy it. You bought it. Now I'm going to tell you the problem with it. My nichusa. I don't think you should have any menuchas hanefesh. The Rabbi of Rav Sheshes shadu bonarga. Here, I have a picture. I'm not even going to tell you what it means. Look at this. They threw an axe at the pshat. It says, Mila is so chamor, it has less than a kazayis. They threw an axe at it. Why? Man shamislei the Omar hazid b'meila b'misa. Who's this individual? Top of Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. Who is the one that decided that meila gets misa b'dei shamayim? If he has anas, says Rashi, Rashi and Taisvis. Rebbe. It's Rebbe. The Sanya hazid b'meila. Rebbe yamid b'misa. The Chacham morim b'hazara. Chacham say you get malchus. Rebbe says you get misa b'dei shamayim. It almost sounds like Rebbe is worse off. Misa b'dei shamayim. A guy that's over these averes says, I'd rather take the malchus than get death. Death. It's not death. We'll see. My time of the Rebbe. Where does Rebbe come from? Here's the pasuk. It's important to see this. Why? Because it's not exactly like you think. So it says in the pasuk, by truma, if you eat it betuma. You hear? It says, V'lo yisu olav chet. And if you eat truma when it's tamei, umesu bay, misa. The next pasuk it says, v'chol zar lo yoichal kodesh. Nothing to do with tuma. A zar, a Yisrael, cannot eat truma. What if he eats it? So because it says umesu bay over here, by the pasuk right before, pasuk tes, it says this death. That's something else. Truma tmeh. Okay, so if a zar eats it, also death. But our point is that it says over here, chet. And later on, by Mi'ila, it says, Nefesh ki simol mal, v'chota b'shgaga. It says again the word chet, gzeir shava. So just like over here, by truma. This misa, if a Yisrael eats truma, this misa, how do I know? From the pasuk before, umeisubay, by truma tmeya. So too by Mi'ila, this misa. No, and if I'm learning misa, there's a beautiful gzeir shava. You got to learn everything. What else can I learn? Just like truma, it's a kazayis. So too, Mi'ila is a kazayis. Asks Rav Papa, who says it's a kazayis? There's another shita called Abba Shaul who says there's no kazayis by truma. But that contradicts what Rav Papa said yesterday, that there is a kazayis according to Rav Abba Shaul. There's two, kazayis and a pruta. Man truma misa v'mi'ila b'misa. Umina man truma b'kazayis, af mi'ila b'kazayis. So I know that Mi'ila needs a kazayis because I learned everything from Truma. Truma has this, and that's the narga. This is the axe. Why? Because it says mefurish that you need a kazayis by Mi'ila. What was so special about Mi'ila? Mi'ila is so strong that you could get misa without eating kazayis. We just proved to you here. It says mefurish over in the Gzeir Shava that you need a kazayis. That's a tremendous axe that slugs up your whole beauty, your whole chumrah of Mi'ila, because it says mefurish in the Gzeir Shava, you do need a kazayis by Mi'ila. Mi'ila is no different than anything else in the Torah. Everything needs a kazayis. So does Mi'ila. How do I know? Gzeir Shava. Shalav and Agra. They threw an axe at it. The point is here, step 8. Maskul Rav Papa. The Rebbe, who told you that Rebbe holds, like Rabbanan, that you need a kazayis in Truma? And therefore, I learned from Truma to Mi'ila that Mi'ila also needs a kazayis. We had yesterday a machlokes between Abba Shaul and Chachamim. How much Truma do you need to eat in order to be over? Abba Shaul says a pruta's worth, not a kazayis. Comes Rav Papa and says a chidush. He also means a kazayis worth and a pruta's worth. But Rav Papa himself is asking, who told you? Maybe you hold like Abba Shaul, the Amar Yesh Bo Shava Pruta, Avagav the less Bo Kazayis. Maybe Abba Shaul Rebbe holds like Abba Shaul. They don't need a Kazayis. The main thing is Pruta. Just like we thought in the beginning of the sugya. Abba Shaul says you need a Pruta, Chacham say you need a Kazayis, and the story. So you see that V'hara Papa the Amar Abba Shaul Tarti Boy yesterday. Rav Papa tried to answer the question by saying that Abba Shaul says you need both a pruta and a kazayis, meaning that Abba Shaul learns both shatim in the pasuk, right? He learns the word nesina, v'nasan, he learns the word achila, that you need a pruta, you need an achila of a kazayis. End the story. Okay. But now that we mentioned this sugya, that what? So if we go back to step number 4, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak asks Reb Chia bar Abba, what's going on here? You start off a Kal V'chomer telling me that Kares is more chamor than Misa, and you answer the Kal V'chomer by saying, no, Misa is more chamor than Kares. Doesn't make any sense. Step number 4. So we have two Tirutzim here, very similar Tirutzim, which amazingly bring up beautiful concepts that we learned in Shabbos, just as unbelievable Chazara, unbelievable concepts. Mar berei de Ravna Omar. Hachi Gomar. I don't know, it's Ravina, Ravna. The Gemara says Ravna, I think. Hachi Gomar. Loim amarto b'shar mitzvahs shelo yasa behem she'ein miskaven ki miskaven. Explains Rashi, there's a mistake. Pashat a toastfus. It wasn't that the Gemara said that Misa is more chomer than Karas. It's saying that in a shaygeg, Mi'ila is more chomer because when you're not miskaven, Davar she'ein miskaven, we know the concept from Shabbos. You don't have intent to do something when it comes to all the mitzvahs in the Torah, everything. But as an example, we'll talk about Shabbos. In Shabbos, you need meleches machshavos. You have to have intent to do a certain thing. And if you don't have intent you're potter. You thought the fruit was off the tree, so you started cutting it, and you cut a fruit that was attached to the tree. You're not over. Why? Because in Shabbos you need meleches mechsheves, you have to have intent to do a certain thing. So what is shaygig, Rabbi Yisai? What does shaygig in Shabbos mean? Wasn't that shaygig? I thought that was not attached, and it turned out it was attached. No, you're not chayiv. Because shaygig means, I forgot that this aver is aser. I forgot that today is Shabbos. But when your intent is to do A, you did well, your intent was to cut, but you didn't realize that it's attached, that you're not over. By Me'ila, you would be over. And that's what the Gemara is saying. How could you learn a Kal V'chomer Me'ila from everything else? Me'ila is very different. If I don't have the proper intent, you're still chayiv. He thought, he knew for a fact. He says, this is Oyla. You ask him. He says, yeah, this is Oyla. And this right over here is anybody could use. My hands are very cold. I'm going to stick my hands in the chula, and he goes like this, and he sticks it into the Oyla. It's not that he didn't know there's Oyla. So it's not a shaygig on that. But his action was wrong. He wanted to warm up his hands. By Me'ila you're chayiv, by Shabbos, by Shatnez, by, I don't know, L'sachsim Shor B'dishay, all the mitzvahs in the Torah. You went like this, you thought you're muzzling your kid, and instead you muzzled your animal. Not chayiv. But in Me'ila you're chayiv. It's okay, it's not that funny. You can relate.
It's funny that you stopped yourself. That was funny.
Zova Kavana. You know how many emails, these hate emails? Can't make fun of your wife. She's your Ish's chayil. She's this. It's very good. I bathe myself mamish for months. Once every few months. You slip a shtickle, no? Oh, so Rav Nachman argues, he says, not true. If you try to do action, you try to cut, I don't care what you cut, you're chayiv. You were trying to cut. So on Shabbos also, it's a meleches machsheves, says Rav Nachman, machlokes, we had the whole sugya, by Rova, the whole thing. So where is there a difference? Very similar case, but very different. Oh, misasik, remember? The whole nida and walking to shul, you step on an ant, you kill it, you potter. So what happened was, there was a knife that fell out of his pocket into a garden, and he decided to retrieve the knife. And by retrieving the knife, he didn't realize he cut a branch. But he had no intent to cut. Over here, in Snapshot, he had intent to cut something that was tolush, but it ended up to be mechuber. He had zero intent to cut. Zero intent to step on an ant. That zero intent is called misasik, 100% potter. However, Me'ila is more chamor. Okay. Fine. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Me'ila has a special chumrah that if you had zero intent, you try to stick your hand into one kli to grab something, and you all of a sudden you dunked your hand in oil. You weren't trying to put your hand in an oil that was chulin, and you ended up in an oil that is me'ila. You were trying to retrieve something, and you went like this, and you didn't realize that there's oil there. Me'ila, you'd be chayiv. Omer ma. Yes.
What did the Gemara now?
I explained that. I thought the Olam understood. Okay, let me say it again. Not the pshat. He himself is mechulik, and he holds that when you have intent to cut, to do one action called cutting, so I don't care that it's tolish and not tolish. Even if it's tolish, you're chayiv. Everybody hold your chayiv. Only when it comes to misasek does the Torah pater you. Since you had intent to cut, you just didn't realize that it is not attached. It's your fault. You were trying to cut. That's a regular mishaygig, he says. Misasik had zero intent to do that action. He didn't want to dunk his hand in oil. He wanted to grab his pliers. And by mistake, he put his hand in oil. That's something that you'd be potter. Yeah? That doesn't make sense now? Okay. Omar Mar. Now, the Gemara says, we learned yesterday, how in the world could this become truma? So just said how in the world, okay. How in the world? Where in the world do you do daf? Just triggered. How in the world do you make truma? How does truma become chametz? So it says, we learned yesterday, it has to be that first you gave the truma on Pesach and then it turned to chametz. Or you gave it before Pesach and it turned to chametz. Aval hifresh chametz truma, but if the truma was chametz to begin with, the reakol enig daisha. Even Rabbi Yosef Glili says that you could benefit from chametz on Pesach. Once it's chametz, it's not chal at all. How do we know this? It says by truma, titein loy, give the truma to a kohen, to him that he could benefit himself, he could put it in his mouth, and not for light. Mazar Ravuna Bereder of Yeshua. Huh? Yeah. Uroi, okay, uroi, fire. Yeah, I'm saying the point is it's for his body and not for a flame. Not for a light. What did I say? I said uroi, okay, depends on you. Mazar Ravuna Bereder Yeshua. Yeah? Reuben, you're okay? Okay, I thought Mazar Ravuna Bereder Yeshua. Ein tarim v'nat tmei olat tahira v'im tarim b'shoigig trumasei truma. Listen what's going on here. You're not allowed to take truma that's tamei and use it for truma that's tar because you're ruining it for the kohen. The kohen, it's much less valuable. It's only good for firewood. V'im tarim b'shoigig trumasei truma. V'amai. Why is it good truma? If you do it by mistake, it's good truma. Why? Leima loy v'loy le'uray. It's for the kohen and not for his fire. So what if you can make a fire out of it? He did it b'di'evet, it's okay because he can make a fire. But that's not what it says in the pasuk. It says loy kasha. Hasam hoysel shasa kosher. Hachal shasa kosher. What happened was this whatever he gave the kohen that was tamei before it became tamei was tar. Right? Every fruit, it's not born. You can't have fruit that's tummy on a tree. So it has to have a shasa kosher. It was good for a millisecond. At that millisecond that it was tar, you could have given it to the kohen as truma. The fact that it became tummy later, the Torah doesn't exclude that. That's not in the pasuk of loy v'loy le'uroi. Okay? For whatever reason, it's not in the pasuk. Masha'enkein over here, chametz, it never had a second that it was roi to give to the kohen. Why? What was the situation? It became chametz when it was on the ground. How does something become chametz on the ground? Attached to the ground. Attached to the ground. How does something become chametz attached to the ground? And if it becomes chametz attached to the ground, then everything we eat is chametz that's attached to the ground. So we have to say, and this is based on the Shulchan Aruch, the Noda brings down. Question. If there's such a thing, okay, fine. No, we'll talk about something else. No, there's something else. That once the grain doesn't need the ground anymore, then it could absorb water and become chametz. And memela, the Mishabura says this lashon. I'm not making this up. He says charedim should take wheat that's soft, that's still moist wheat, because then it can absorb water. It's very interesting. That wheat that's attached to the ground can become chametz on the ground if it's already done growing. So you have to be makbid on such a thing. However, huh? Yeah, matzah shmura matzah, the whole thing. I don't know if he's talking about those charedim, he's talking about charedim. What? Yeah. They go to the fields beforehand, yeah. However, the Mishnah Berurah says, the Mishnah Berurah says it's only when there's very, very strong rain, meaning for a day and a night, and that the grain splits. Those are the ways that the water could penetrate and make it chametz. Okay, that's tam halacha l'maisa. Says the Gemara. Also, another quick. Oh wow, we're running out of time here. But very quick before how come the Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring this halacha that you cannot take truma from something that's tamei to something that's tar? It's not brought down in halacha. Why? It says because it's not negei l'maisa. Today everybody's tamei. so you're not mafsid the kohen. What's the whole problem? The problem is you take something that's tummy, give it to the kohen can't eat it, he could only use it for his fire. Today the kohen, anyway, everybody's tummy, so he's not being mafsid, so mela, it's not a problem. You could be mafresh, tummy in the tar. If what? If it's, yeah. Correct. You could do that. That's all included. Animals, fire, that kind of stuff. Says the Gemara. What? You're telling me that the Bryce is talking about the far-fetched case that it's attached to the ground? He says yes. Bigzeiras irin pisgama. This is a pasuk in Daniel, but it's really, he's using it, he's playing with the words, a play on words. Bigzeiras irin means malachim. So he says, Bigzeiras irin, the Tamid Chachamim were like malachim. They made a gzeira, like me. Ubemamar kedishin she'ilta. V'chei moirim v'vei midrash kivasi. This is exactly what they said in Beis Medrash. I know it sounds very far-fetched, that we're talking about wheat that's attached to the ground. All the Tamid Chachamim agree with me. This is what they said in Beis Medrash, just like me. Says the Gemara, Ki Yosef Ravuna B'rei Rav Yeshua, Omar Kro Reishis. We're turning to Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. In honor, not sponsored, in honor of David Address. Where in the world do you do Daf? Gishmakin Nigin, Rabbi Sai. He's working on his next Nigin. If anybody has a great picture of them learning the Daf in Disney World, or in Vegas, or in anywhere else in the world, please send it in. It'll be a great video. dafbrama.com. .org.com. Oh, shoot. I've never sent myself an email, so I don't know. Omar Kro at Gmail. Dafbrama at Gmail. Omar Kro Reishis. Oh, I was supposed to say that Yosef Biliak apologized to the whole world. If you haven't received your 8-minute daf, it's not because we haven't produced it, it's because there's a bug in WhatsApp. I love that excuse. Otherwise, whatever. He fell asleep in IKEA on the couch. Or there's a bug on WhatsApp. You do the math. If you haven't received it a few days in a row and you're the only guy that has the bug, we have a problem. If you received it every other day, then I hear the bug problem. I get it. I have no bug. Omar Kro, Reishis, but it says by Truma, Reishis. The first. By Truma. What does Reishis mean? Shishireh Nikarim Li Yisrael, that there's something happened. The Truma caused something. What? Before you couldn't eat it, and now you could eat it. It's Nikar. I gave Truma, poof. Magic, I could eat my fruit. However, this chametz stuff, nothing changed. I can't eat it before, and I can't eat it afterwards. End the story. Gevaldik. So Mela, that's it. It doesn't work. That's why I can't give truma that's chametz on Pesach. Why? Because it doesn't make an afkamina. It doesn't do anything. Truma has to accomplish something. I couldn't eat before, and now I could eat. Ask the Rabbi Kiva Eger, what do you mean? I have a whole pile of chametz, and I give it as truma, and my pile that's not chametz becomes good. It's Pesach. I have a few piles. I have a pile that was wet, really wet, in the rain for 1.5 days, like the Mishnah Berurah says, and it's cracked and everything, and it's chametz. And then I have a whole pile of wheat, regular wheat, not chametz. What's the problem? Great kasha, tzorchin gadol. Sfasem says, okay, we're not going to go into it. Let's go weiter. Sfasem says that it has to be minei ubei, from the same exact wheat. That itself has to be, okay, we'll go weiter. Yosef Ravacha Bereder Rav Avio Kamei, the Rav Chizda Yosef. I got to say hello to the Oilmer. Where's Zevi Shuper? I don't see him. Happy birthday, Zevi Shuper. Where we are? Yeah.
Happy birthday to Shmuley Weisfish.
Oh. Happy birthday to Shmuley Weisfish. How old is he? 12? 12 years old. Beautiful. Mazel tov. And happy birthday, English birthday. We don't celebrate English birthdays, but because I didn't mention his name on his Hebrew birthday, Yeshua Aaron Price. And he wants people to call him to wish him happy birthday, to join the daf. That's what he said. Who else? If you're already watching, I guess he joined. Rabbi Yaakov Razin, Shalom Aleichem. Hi. I don't know, I saw him waving, so I'm saying hello to him. Says the Gemara, Yosef Barav Avio Kamei, the Rav Chizda Yosef Omar Mishmei Rabbi Yochanan. Amazing sugya here. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Anovim shenitmu k'dorcham po. I didn't read it well. Anovim. That's it? You're going to leave me in the dark like that? Weiter. Oy, shenitmeu. You see, the guys in Zoom are help. You don't want to help? Don't help. We're out 4 people, and one of them, we're not going to say that has COVID. What's going on here? We have grapes. We have grapes. Look at these grapes. The halacha is that food can receive tumah, can be mekabel tumah less than a kibetza, even a mashu. But it cannot transmit tumah unless it's a kibetza. It must be a full egg. You see these small little grapes? They're not an egg size. So if you squeeze them and out comes the juice that's inside the grape is not tummy. The grape itself is tummy. The juice inside is not tummy. Ooh, what does that mean? That the juice is not part of the grape. If you tell me the juice is part of the grape, then when you touch the outside of the grape, the whole grape becomes tummy. No! A human being, the inside of him is not tummy. Everything is tummy. A grape is different. The juice is different.
You don't go by the bushel? You go by the
Huh?
You don't go by the whole bushel?
No, we go by tumah, we go by each one individually, says Rashi. And oven, but sometimes you could combine them all with the juice. If the juice touches all of them, then they combine. But you go by one. And therefore I could bring the wine as a libation on the mizbeach. And the sachem on the mizbeach, you pour it, there's a hole over there, you pour the wine. We had this, da mifka pocket. Remember, by bris milah, by metzitza, is the blood there, is the blood afterwards. So you see that he holds that the liquid in the grape is an individual thing. Before, and Rashi explains beautifully, before it wasn't food. It only becomes, and it wasn't even mashkim inside. It only becomes mashkim once it comes outside. Once it comes outside, it's too late. It doesn't become tamei. When does it become tamei? After you squeeze it. It doesn't have a shear. If it's exactly an egg's worth, you should have the same problem. That what? Once you give it a little kvetch, let's say you're talking about exactly 100% an egg, you gave it a kvetch, now it's 99% of an egg. So it's not an egg. You need a full egg. You're telling me it's less than an egg, but even if it's exactly an egg, you have the same exact problem. I just want to point out, you don't need Raid. You need Rashi. There's a beautiful Rashi here. You have to see this. I know we're running out of time. You have to see this. Rashi did a maskell, the big kibetza nami. I don't know. 20 lines down, let's say. Bikabetza nami, says Rashi. Says Rashi. Oichelu mashke mekabel tum b'chol shem. Aval ein metam acherim elo oichel kibetza umashke b'revius. So Rashi is bothered here. Rashi is bothered that at the end of the day, you know what? Forget this Rashi. I'm talking about a different Rashi. Rashi says over here, that's what we said before, that you need at least an egg's worth to be metama something else. Or if it's mashke, you need a revis. Fine. If you go to the end of the Rashi, so Rashi brings another shita here that in order to be mekabel tumah, you need an egg. The aflikabel, I said that to be mekabel tumah, you need a mashu. Rashi brings another shita that lekabel tumah, you need a kibetza. Why is this important to us? Okay, there's one sheet like this, like that. Halacha l'maisa. Halacha l'maisa every day. Why do we wash our hands? We wash our hands and perhaps the food is tummy. But that's only if the food is a kibetza. Because of this sheet in Rashi, so if you're washing your hands to eat hamoitzi, let's say less than a kibetza, you should not say a bracha. Because this sheet in Rashi says that in order to be metame, to receive tumah, you need a full kibetza. So what are you washing your hands for? You hear? Halacha l'maisa. You should wash your hands without a bracha. Says the Gemara, Dotnan. Somebody that's a tmei mace. We had the whole chart the other day, right? A guy who touched a dead person. So what does he become? Avatuma. And then he goes and he squeezes olives and grapes. If it's exactly an egg's worth, tahirim. Why? you see that if it's exactly an egg's worth, it becomes a little less tar. Hasam, says the Gemara, the Ovad, the Eved. The Eved. It just says, if he happened to squeeze it, tar. I'm telling you that you could go bring this kind of wine on the Beis Hamikdash, on the Mizbeach. This is something you could do. Go ahead, grab grapes, make sure they have less than a kibetza worth over here, and give it a kvetch, and put that on the Mizbeach. What? Thank you. You're going to tell the guy, you can go up to an egg. Okay, so then tomorrow go 1 gram above an egg. So you say less than an egg. Nobody's going to listen to you and to your Rebbe. Like you guys were looking at me. This tumah inside the grape, you touch the outside of the grape, the whole grape becomes tumah. Oh, so what does he hold? He must hold that it's not mifka pocket. It's all part of it. The juice is part of the grape. They're embedded. The liquids is inside the grape. Once the outside grape becomes tamei, the whole thing becomes tamei. What do you mean? Everybody holds this, no? But nan, you have to flip it around. You see that the juice is not part of the grape. If you hold it's not part, that's why it's tar. It shouldn't be tar at all. Okay, so here's amazing, amazing thing that Rashi says. I know we're running out of time, but this Rashi is very important. Rashi, like 6 lines before it gets wide, he says, if it's more than an egg, it's tummy. This is just pshat. I'm saying pshat. If it's more than an egg, it's tummy. Why? Where did it get its tumah from? Look at this. If you have a giant grape that's an egg's worth, a little bit more than an egg, where's the egg? The whole inside is empty. Why is it empty? Because the juice doesn't count. A second ago, you told me juice is not part of the grape. Now you're telling me that if it's more than an egg's worth, it is. What's going on here? It says Rashi, an amazing chiddush. Without Rashi, we'd never know this. Shekiv and Shiyotzati Bershan and that's part of the question. Shadayin Hoya Boichel Beitza. Says Rashi, even though the liquid is not part of it, unbelievable. Okay. You dance on 2 chasanas here. It's not part of it, but it is part of it. So it's enough to make it a kibetza. But it's not part of it. But it is part of it.
The first jar came out from something that was a kibetza.
But the Rashi went, that's what I showed you before. It's not part of it. It's not oichel, it's not mashke. It only becomes mashke once it comes out. Oichel inside, it's not. So it's not really part of it. Shalom Yisrael. But it's enough to make it a kibetza. Okay. Go ayin b'Rashi. Unbelievable. What's Shas's, in my opinion, what's Shas's favorite topic? Hechsher Tumah. Here we go again. In order to make the grape mikabel Tumah, you have to pour one of the 7 liquids on it. What's one of the 7 liquids? The juice itself. Leimis miskashri. Only once you give it a kvetch, you give it a squeeze, then the juice comes out, then it becomes mukshal kabel Tumah. But at that second, you already have less than the shear. And if you don't say my pshat, yesterday we had Rabbi Kiva tells him to Rabbi Yochanan, it's like berries, it's like grapes. You can't do anything with them. What hana does a kohen have from a grape? If it's tamei, a 0 hana from it. What do you mean he has 0 hana? Grape juice. Why is that not a hana? Squeeze it. Have grape juice. According to you that the juice is not part of the grape, and you give a kohen a bunch of grapes that are tamei, says Rabbi Kiva to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, as 0 hana from it. It's not true. You could squeeze it out and use another product called grape juice that's not related at all to the grapes. If he wants, over here's another shayla. You're going to use grape juice, tomorrow you're going to eat the grape. That's the problem. Why should I be choshev for such a thing? The kohen could take bread and use it as a fire, even though it's tamei. I'm not concerned he's going to bite into it. You're right. The only time the kohen could use bread for firewood He threw it, he made it disgusting. He put it in disgusting kli. Only then is the kohen allowed to use it for his fire. Have a wonderful day. Stop.